Hello, everybody. Today we are discussing the inauguration of Trump, his speech, his swearing into office, and what's it like to be a government teacher, a social studies teacher, social science, Constitution, U.S. history, things that I'm glad I'm not teaching this week. I'm glad I'm teaching English because I kind of don't know how I'd approach it if I were just, to teach this because I have my opinions and my students have their opinions. And so, Jacob, I know you teach some of these subjects.
Yeah.
Actually, tell us, what do you teach actually,
Well, I
specifically?
teach this year I've been teaching American government and economics plus sociology and psychology. So these are all semester courses. And so this week I was able to discuss this speech that President Trump had regarding the inauguration.
Before you mentioned that discussion of his speech, how about you telling us what it was like the day after the election? Um,
Election or
when
the inauguration? Election?
no, the election. I'm going back. I'm just curious,
Okay.
before we talk about the inauguration, what was it like the next day after the election? How did you broach it with your students?
You know what? I've been surprised every step of the way this semester because I have a spectrum in my room where I have students tell me if they're liberal, conservative. I talk about those ideologies and that many Democrats are liberal and many Republicans are conservative. Not all, but many, most. And so usually most of my students fall um, liberal, very liberal, very few conservatives. However, this year it's pretty much even, which right away that blew my mind. So then when the election happened, I wasn't too surprised that after the election, when I said, "Hey, something just what you just shared, actually, how do you guys feel? What are you guys thinking?" And many of them were excited, were happy. Some were not, of course. You heard some of the even things that are heard on TV, like, right, oh, he's a racist or he's Hitler. Then I also heard others would say, oh, no, he's gonna help our economy, you know. And so, which was surprising because most years I only hear one-sided type of talk. This year it was very even, which made me happy because it's like, okay, we could have a discussion at least now because there's two sides and the kids will talk amongst themselves, which they did.
So, by way of context, many of the viewers might not understand or might not know this, but uh, in the area in which you work, Southgate, and I would probably also say East LA,
Yeah,
Heights, Cudahy, or Southeast LA into East LA. Our students, those students would tend to be left, pretty left. What you're saying is this is the first time you've seen it kind of start to even out. So you're seeing a
for
shift.
sure.
We're seeing a shift in society where in the past you kind of see it being more cool to be left. I hate to put it like in those terms, but society, you just, you in LA, it's left. Now you're seeing a shift even among students. That's interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
let's take it to the inauguration. And everybody knows all the executive orders that were signed. I don't know if I wanted to go over all these kinds of things. The repeals and the January 6 pardons. People have their ideas about this. What I'm curious about is how do you teach this? Because when I'm going to work, um, I don't have to worry about this and
Right.
fights and things like that. How did you handle the inauguration and some of the executive orders that were signed that day?
Well, I think because it's very mid, like I said, half and half type of thing in my class. Well, in all my classes, I have three classes of government economics, right? So to be fair, it wasn't slanted, meaning the things that were brought up, because I basically asked them to watch the inauguration, right? The speech. I gave them a link, and then I asked them to answer four questions. First, simple questions. What they liked, and number two, what they didn't like. Third, regarding the economy, what was something that came up that he talked about that you were excited about? It's going to affect our economy in a positive and also in a negative way. And then finally, I wanted to ask him about the Panama Canal, what they thought about that, because he did talk about that towards the end of his speech, I believe. Yeah, it was towards the end. And so yeah, so they answer that, and so I got different answers for those questions, which I knew I would. And one of the things that what came up though, Ruben, a lot, what they didn't like, some of the kids were saying, well, they're picking up people, they're already taking them across the border. One kid said, "Oh, they're all taken back to Mexico." I said, "Well, a lot of the people that they're detaining and picking up are people from in Central America as well, not just Mexico. And there's other parts." So I had to clarify that, and I also said, I gave them some sites so they could look that up as well. Because I always share with them, don't listen to me all the time. Look it up. If I say something, make sure you could back it up
So you're
with
referring to the execution of the mass
yes, the
deportation
mass deportation. So
order.
they were concerned about many of them were. And then and so because of that, and I think I'm sure it's being talked about in their classes, and even our district sent us a letter saying, hey, if somebody comes from ICE into your classroom, this is what these are the protocols what you're supposed to be doing. So and then so anyway, I told the kids, well, who's being picked up right now? And then so as he looked it up, they're like, okay, mostly criminals, actually all criminals or people who have records, people who have done crimes in the past. They're the ones who are being picked up and deported. So that was talked about, and of course that in different classes it would be brought up by other students. So some students would bring that up and say, oh no, it's just the criminals that are going and leaving the country. I said, yeah, that's about right so far. I go, maybe it won't be in 6 months from now, but at least right now that seems to be the target. So that was brought up.
So what happens? What happens when the students ask you, "Well, what's your opinion, Mr. Aguilar?"
I try not to do too much of that. I do say things like this, though. I go, those are immigration has always been a piece that I've always been concerned about. So I'm trying to be very sensitive. I don't think it's a good idea for me to say, well, you're wrong, this group's wrong, this group's right. I don't, I usually like to say, at least give a take, give an argument. 'Cause I always say to give a good argument, and that to me makes me a smile on my face. So I would try to give arguments for both sides. So I do. It matters what topic. If we're talking about immigration, I would say no. I think we need to have strong immigration laws. But I would say something like that. And I brought this up this week. I said my great grandparents came here. My grandparents came here, and they came here illegally, and then they became illegal. So I'm sensitive to that. I have no problem people trying to come to this country. I get that. But I also understand why people might say, "Oh no, uh, we need to put a limit to that as well." I feel like I see both sides of that argument, and not argument, but both sides. I see why people want to come here, and then so I share that with the students because a lot of them see that too. They know this is a great country. Everybody
What
wants
if,
to be here.
so what if they say, "What is your opinion in general of Trump's policies, Mr. Aguilar?"
They haven't said that, probably because I think they get the feel that that's a very sensitive topic for me even. But if they were to ask me that, I would say I generally support his policy. At the same time, I'm more, and I think this is where he's going. What I understand, he's going with the criminals and that.
I'm saying the general policies. I
Yeah,
said the general
I'd say, like I
policies.
said, I
Not just
generally
not
support him. I would tell them and most
so the
often I
January
support it.
so the January 6th pardons, the
Oh, I'm talking
remove.
about the immigration piece.
I know, I know. I'm asking you I'm asking you a different question now. Mr.
Mhm.
Aguilar, what do you feel about Trump's policies in general?
That hasn't been asked me, but if they were to ask me, I would probably say generally I support his policies, you know. But I don't
Okay.
like to ask. I usually don't answer that. They don't, and I think they don't. They know not to ask me that because a lot of times I say I really want to know what you guys have to say. I always try to throw it back at them. I I don't.
Okay.
Very rare do I tell them what I think or how I feel because I feel like tell them it doesn't matter what I think. I just want us to have good conversation, good arguments. Have a good argument on both sides. I love that. That's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear of this emotional feelings. This is what I feel. This is that doesn't seem to make any sense. But if you come to bat and give a good argument, oh, that's great.
Yeah, I was just curious. There's a lot of hot button issues
Sure.
that occur, that are going on with these executive orders, the Paris Climate Agreement, the deportation, there's so
Do
many.
students ever ask you though?
Of
I know you're not a government teacher, economics, but do they ever
course,
ask you your opinion? They do?
yes, yes,
Oh, well,
yes.
how do you respond to that?
It keeps saying yes. Um, We're not encouraged to talk politics at our school. That's why I'm saying I find freedom in not talking
Yeah.
politics, which which confuses people when I say that. What do you mean you don't find freedom, or you find freedom in not talking? Because I feel like it's an uneven game.
Mhm.
If you were to come into my class, you'll understand what I mean by that. It's unfair, it's uneven. Anything that I say in my class is very much, I don't want to say it's gold or gospel, but they very much are interested in my perspective on things. They want to know about my personal life. They want to know about what I think about
Sure.
artists. And so they're really gonna, it's not fair in a way for me to tell them my opinion. It sways them too much.
No, I
I
agree.
just like to listen, I just say, so a student asked me something this week, and she goes, thoughts, right after the inauguration. And I said, what are your thoughts? Oh, Mr. Aguilar. So I'm grateful to be in that position. And I'm just curious with you. So you're just trying to throw it back into the ring.
I
And that
always
makes sense. Go back into
Yeah,
the
I
arena.
always do that. And they see that. Sometimes once in a big while they'll go, please just tell us what you think. And they get that what I'm doing, I'm throwing it back at them. And I'll say, well, I generally support this, but I'm very sensitive to the immigration piece. So I know my parents, grandparents were benefited from it. And so I definitely do not want to come across not being sensitive because I am. That's one issue I've dealt with over the years, and it's hit me pretty in different ways. So, but yeah, but it's funny though. The couple of things they brought up though was regarding the oil. One of them said, "Drill, baby, drill." They got these little slogans, from the speech. Drill, baby, drill. And you know what? One last thing I would say about the speech though is that they did bring up that they thought it was interesting how he was talking smack. They said use the word smack, and Biden's sitting right behind him. He goes, "Mister, he's talking, and Joe Biden and Kamala's right there." I go, "Yeah." I go, "That's Donald Trump. I think that's part of his his charm, or the way he is." And so they just thought they couldn't believe that. I go, yeah, I think that's when people start thinking, oh, maybe he's serious about what he's going to do with all these executive orders. And right away, what did he do? Like 200 executive orders on the first day, which is like a
Not
record.
even close.
Is it
No, not even
less?
close.
Not,
Like
I'm
20.
totally off.
You're off. Here's the government teacher, everybody.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I read it. I thought I read it was 200, but I guess I'm off.
I mean, I think it was 22. I'm not, that was the
Really?
first day.
Okay, I gotta look it
I
up.
mean, sure there's more. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you another day. Bye bye.